Good morning. Welcome to our 11 o'clock session. We're happy to see you here. I'm Tom Hare, the Chief Content Officer of the PDMI, and thank you. I appreciate that. We are thrilled to be on the third and final day of PDMI East 2023. We're thrilled to have so many of you with us here today, and we want to say thanks again to all of our sponsors. Thanks to the hotel for hosting us. I want to personally thank our PDMI team for helping us put on such a great show. We're really happy to be fully back at this now. It's our fourth show back since the pandemic, and it's great to see everybody. So thank you for coming. We mostly want to thank for our educational sessions PMT, Pacific Media Technologies, our educational session sponsor, and they have a brief message for you.
Known for their superior quality and unequaled service, did you know that PMT is also an innovator in technologies that have transformed video ad services? PMT began investing in the latest cloud-based technologies and media tools several years ago, with a simple goal in mind: to be recognized as the gold standard in quality and customer care. Today, PMT's services have transformed what brands and agencies have come to expect in video ad management and production services. Fast, highly responsive customer care and turnaround times with quality guaranteed. Pacific Media Technologies. Technology-driven, quality guaranteed.
So thanks again to PMT for their support. We are here today with our, I need to get over the other deck, there we go. Our PDMI Women's Council is our newest council, 2 months old. Our first meeting was in January. Incredible. We've had 52 women join the council in 2 months. It's tremendous. We're very thankful to Fern Lee, our chair of the Women's Council, and to Cody Tunney, her vice chair. It's been great. Based on strictly on session attendance, we should have done this like 5 years ago. So anyway, Fern's put together a tremendous group here, and she's going to take it from here. Thanks, everybody.
All right, so I'm not a clicker person, so you'll excuse me if I don't click well. This one, I keep telling you, this one, don't blow it, this one. Okay, so welcome. Today's the final day of PDMI. I hope everyone's having a great time. I'm sure you're exhausted because I'm ready to go to sleep. So let's get on to it. We're going to introduce the panelists. Our panel today is brand leadership and the customer experience. So we're going to talk a little about, as the importance of the consumer experience is, it's all how we grow. What's the best way to grow performance? How do we build our database? Everything's done direct to consumer. We are not a B2B. We are definitely direct to consumer as we build up our database. So we must engage with the consumers, grow their database. It's become an all-consuming effort. And in this special conversation today, women leaders will represent a group of performance-based D2C marketers, brand, agency. We'll address how we literally ideate, innovate, and generate growth. From the shifting TV marketplace to digital audio and social media, these experts are maximizing the customer experience, driving better ROAs, and creating lifetime customers. So I'm going to let each introduce themselves. Sarah.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Andreadakis. I'm our Executive Vice President of Media at Bluewater Media. We're a full-service agency where we focus on content, media across all platforms.
I am Jill Albert, President of Direct Results. We've been in business for a little over 16 years with offices in New York and LA. We are all about customer acquisition using audio, something that you don't hear about that much at this event, but we hope to hear more about. But audio being radio, streaming, satellite, and podcast. We have an incredible team, and we like to brag about the fact that over 96% of all of our campaigns are successful as defined by the advertiser.
Brooke.
I'm Brooke Davis. I work at Contour Products. We've been in business for over 30 years. I oversee all the new product launches and bringing them to market. And our focus is mainly in the pillow space and comfort product category, and just bringing new products to market and providing them to retail.
Is it Racine?
Hi, good morning. I'm Racine Levy. I'm the Senior Director of Brand Media Strategy and Buying for Angi. In January 2020, Angi brought all of our media buying and strategy in-house, so we work directly with the vendors, with the exception of radio, where we partner with Jill at Direct Results. It's been such a great partner. Shout out to you and your team. I'm not sure how aware all of you are of Angi, but in the spring of 2021, Angie's List rebranded, and we are in the home improvement business, connecting homeowners with contractors to book, pay, and vet different services through our app and website. Such a pleasure to be here, and really great to see so many familiar faces in the room.
And Lori?
I'm Lori Lasky, VP of Strategy. I am new to media culture. We are a full-service agency. My experience is from the station level to agency to brand for many, many years, and now back to the agency. And I'm really excited to be here with this panel of wonderful, wonderful women.
And we're excited. This is the first time we put such an innovative panel together. So we're going to do a lot of question and answers back and forth, and then we're really going to do more of a round table and playing off of each other. And then we'll save the last 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll do some Q&A from the audience to get everyone involved. So let's jump off. So first up is Racine. I knew you'd be excited to be the start. So what's your omni-channel media strategy, and how does your agency implement these? And what are the tactics for a robust ROI for consumer acquisition and for improving client growth?
Great question. So our brand media strategy is two-folded. We rely on action-driving growth media that retains a high ROI, and then we couple that with growth media for expansion and diversification. We've really found this year, over the past couple of years, really relying on more traditional vehicles, although DR, creative, and media has positive results in the short term. It's really that awareness and reach media where it has better performance in the long term. So we work directly with our vendors for top and lower level KPIs such as conversion, website visits, and SRs. But this year we're really concentrating on that younger audience, especially in a year after COVID where millennial home ownership is up, to see where we can diversify the media mix and tapping into light TV viewers and different media tactics to understand how we can gain new audience and new consumers to Angi.
So Sarah, as an agency team member, omni-channel, everyone thinks, the Star's linear TV, but why not digital first? When do you move from digital to linear to OTT, CTV? Talk a little about strategy.
Thanks, Lynn. Fern.
My nickname, Lynn's new name. It's okay. It's okay.
No, the fact is that I have a client who asks me this question all the time.
Love it.
So with this, it really comes down to being a customized strategy. So each of our clients who comes to us is in a unique position. Their history of what they've tried, what it is they're trying to achieve, who their target customers are. So we start with creating a customized strategy for them that is an omni-channel strategy. For some clients, the right thing is to start from a digital standpoint and then move into something like TV or leveraging additional other platforms. But what we look at is what's the right thing for them, what is their goal, how to build that out for their business and the size of their business, and then crafting what that expansion path should look like for them, all along making sure that the steps that we take are all measurable so that we can track that performance all throughout the plan, and that the creative messaging that we're delivering for each of those pieces all fits together, that we're telling a consistent story across all of that.
So Jill, where does audio, how does that fit into the omni-channel? We're all hearing the buzzword. Last year was CTV and OTT, and now it's podcast. We know radio is old, but what's old is new again. So tell us a little about, what percentage, when does that come into play in an omni-channel?
All right, so, radio, as much as you say it's old, and it has, we'd like to say it's been around for a while, it's established, is the greatest reach vehicle that's out there. So over 90% of all adults across the entire country listen to radio on a weekly basis. So it's really engaging. And then podcasts is, this lean-in media where people choose the content, they trust the personality that's delivering that content, and they lean in to hear how to improve their lives or how to be entertained, and they make an appointment for such. So when you're looking at how to increase your reach and how to increase your engagement and how to deliver what you say is a very customized strategy, audio is all about telling a story. There are no pictures. So it's all about bringing people in with that storytelling. So I think that's probably a very accurate way to say how it fits into the omni-channel.
Love it. Terrible on this, terrible. Okay. So what's the key to database growth, and what is your process for implementing change based on data results? So Lori, Lori's very unique. She comes from a brand background with Nautilus and now is on the agency side. So I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because you want to make sure that you're constantly bringing people in so that you're building up your pool of people and bringing them in so that you can actually talk to them more personally on a level of retargeting. So it's extremely important across all your channels to have this full funnel. So you're starting with your prospecting, you're reaching audiences, you're reaching whatever that key product was. Like at Nautilus, we had multiple different products. Each of those products had their own personality, had their own audience. So you're reaching all of those people, and then you're bringing them into the funnel, and you're just constantly talking to them, reminding them who you are, getting them to purchase. So that is really important in growing your database. You want to make sure that you're just continuing to bring people in, reaching new audiences across every single channel, no matter what that is.
Fantastic. And Brooke, what are some of your secret sauce that you're doing with Contour?
Well, I think besides growing, obviously we take everybody into our funnel from purchase or any touch point we have. But for us, what really makes a difference with our database is cleaning it out and just constantly looking at it and saying, okay, have we talked to these people? Are they responsive? Because really we want to focus on quality over quantity, and that allows us to have more effective content to them that people really want to engage with rather than just getting a regular email over and over.
So do you do a different cadence? So somebody who buys multiple purchases versus a one-off versus a non, who you're trying to get into the one, then into the...
Yeah, so we use a couple different flows, and we use Klaviyo, and so we have everybody in there and all their different funnels. But yeah, I mean, for example, on our Swan Pillar right now, that is a completely different flow than somebody who buys on our regular e-commerce site and didn't come through TV. They might...
And you touch them differently. So
Yeah.
somebody comes through telco, do you outbound back to them? Do you SMS? Explain
Yeah.
some of the things that you do.
Yeah, so if they come in through TV, we reach out to them, SMS mainly, and we use a lot of email. We provide a lot of content to our customers after purchase for how to improve their experience with a product, and that helps keep them in our funnel. And so on our e-commerce site, it's not as directed because most of those people are just kind of coming on one-offs. They didn't see a TV spot. So like that cadence is a lot more spread out. We're not focusing on giving them as much information because they're kind of just one-offs.
And in the insurance world, we're using direct mail now again. I mean, people are like, what's old is new again, but the consumer's mailbox is so jammed. They're between texting, between email, that they're looking forward. They go to the mailbox, 65 plus, and they get this big postcard, and they engage immediately. It's exciting. Michelle, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, how often, at what stage do you encourage a customer? At what stage after they're not interacting with you do you take them out of your database?
Typically after 5 emails, we kind of look if they have it, and we look at if they've opened it, if they've clicked it. So if someone just has stopped opening, they're gone. But if they've opened it and they haven't clicked on the content inside, then we'll kind of look at their history and see what else we can try to put them in another funnel that might be better for them. But yeah, we're just looking at our numbers constantly and saying, what's the engagement, who's not engaging, if they're not, where can we put them, or do we take them out?
And so Racine, one of the things you said was about how your demographics have changed because, to your point, homeowners, younger homeowners, pandemic, it's like it's the new wave. So how did you engage versus older demographic versus younger
So
demographic?
historically, our core customers were baby boomers and Gen Xers, the average linear traditional DRTV viewer. But with, after COVID, seeing that we want to really target this younger audience, we kind of re-strategized and followed where the audience is and where consumption is. So we took our holistic video mix and we're increasing our CTV strategy 6 times versus our historical spend. Yes, CTV vendors out there, you can email me, we can chat about it over drinks if you want, but we found a lot of success in key partners like Sling, Hulu, Peacock, and we're retesting YouTube. And then we're looking at the holistic strategy. So we work with Jill's team to understand where endorsements are. We're kind of changing our media mix, understand what kind of hosts resonate with the younger audience. We are expanding in podcasts and doing some influencer marketing with our podcast hosts. And then we run across audio streaming and CTV as well. And it's been really successful for us because we're really trying to, although Angie's List has been the historical brand for a while now, we really want to make sure this new audience is aware that Angi's your home for everything home. We're more than just a list. We drop the list, and we are, there, and we're open and ready for these millennials who just bought homes after COVID to come explore and kind of fulfill their needs on the app and website.
And so prior, you were running 2-minute spots, 60-second spots
We
on
run
linear TV?
generally 30s and 15s,
Okay,
which
so
is
it's
the
easy
same
to go
creative
to
strategy,
CTV.
but we have more DR-driven creatives, like testimonials, and then more brand media creatives, which are out right now, but we have a new campaign coming out in May, which is really exciting, which is more brand-driven, and we find that brand media has a direct correlation with homepage conversion. So the more we spend on brand media spend, obviously awareness increases, and our consumers are more inclined to convert through the website because they're familiar with Angi. They're like, oh, Angie's List. Like, I remember growing up, staying home sick from work, from school, and seeing Angi on TV. So it's like, how do we reintroduce that story to this new audience who is now in this home ownership journey?
So Sarah, what is your process for implementing change? How do you tell your client to go from A to B?
Data. It always comes down to data. So it starts with what their results look like, and then we'll test. I always want to test what that looks like and test it against a control. So like you spoke about doing like endorsement radio versus doing maybe it's pre-produced radio. Test it, measure it, and see what that looks like. If it's something that we haven't tried with them before, then again, I'm looking at data. Where has this worked for other clients? Does it make sense for them based on those data facts? And then taking a portion of that budget, making sure that that's something that is sustainable for their business, a portion so it doesn't risk their overall, test it. When we think about how to move things forward, it really comes down to not being afraid to test and try things, but make sure you can measure it.
Agency side and working on the client side directly, you have to have a lot of faith in your tests. But again, you're going to learn that some tests aren't successful, and that's okay. And there's always something to learn from each test. For example, we tested YouTube 4 times before our buy with them now, and they weren't successful tests in terms of like hitting our goals. But now we're finding a different way to partner with YouTube, and we're finding this test successful. So I always say for a test, you want to at least test it for 6 to 8 weeks. To get some sort of data and read, and then not freak out if it's not performing. Obviously, we work in the performance space where things are cancelable, but learning, any learnings you can get from that test are going to be valuable in the end run.
And so the key is test, and testing.
Yeah.
There is no failure. You fail to succeed, and you have to remember if you're not testing, you're not in the game. So.
Yep.
It's also patience.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because being in performance, people want tomorrow. They want to know their works tomorrow, and it's really talking the client through on, these are best practices, this is why we need to keep it in market 6 to 8 weeks till they agree with that, and here's what we're seeing, we're constantly monitoring it, so it's sometimes
You have to talk your client off the edge.
Yeah. And I have to talk myself off the edge sometimes as a client with the agency mindset, but yeah, that's exactly.
I think some of that's setting that expectation in the beginning.
It is.
Yeah.
Reminding them throughout. So mediums, like you'll know this even from a podcasting standpoint, you're not going to see it just like that.
Right.
When I do things on CTV, I'm not going to see a huge web burst in activity there because of how people view it, and it's not what they're used to seeing. So laying those expectations out in the beginning, continuing to give them the reassurance that this is going to take some time, it's still learning, we're getting there, and here's the learnings we're gathering along the way, and showing them where that's going to lead. It's key to making sure that we can complete that test and get those results.
And I think
it's a
that's
constant
so important.
re-education too.
Yeah.
'Cause you're-
As an agency, the 3 agency women here, you're partners with the marketers. You have to be. This day and age, it's very different. It's like the old days. You go, okay, just do 100,000 budget. Okay, just run with it. There's no, Gina's smiling because there's no more of that. You're really integrated into your partnership. It's all about vendor relationship, vendor partnership. You're walking the same hand in hand. You want your partners to succeed because the more they succeed, the more they send and the more successful they'll be. Go ahead, Jill.
But it's elementary, but it's like, it's clearly defining goals and clearly defining the intention. So when you talk about 6 to 8 weeks, what are we hoping to accomplish? And then when your advertiser gets nervous, you go right back to this is what our stated goal was. This is what our intention is. So it's, I always think, how do you build a house without a plan? It's impossible, and yet people will go into marketing strategies without just like let's try this, let's try this. You got to have clearly defined goals and, what the outcomes look like.
So Jill, what are your customer touch points to open the funnel to increase customer lifetime value? And how do you educate? And again, you're going to hear me talk about cadence a lot. So what's your cadence? How do you start the process?
Okay, so remind me to get back to the cadence.
I will.
So we're an agency, so we obviously have a number of different kinds of clients. So I'll touch on a couple of different strategies. But number one would be like an age-old direct response advertiser, Omaha Steaks. We've all heard of them. We all know a little bit about their product. It is an older demographic. It's a luxury product. It's relatively expensive. So what we do is we start with gifting. Everybody knows that Omaha Steaks is a phenomenal gift. We have personalities so we go out to all of our personalities. We've got an incredible database of, who does what and who does it well. Podcasts, local and national personalities, we give them the steaks and we tell them to talk about it. We give them copy points and then it's their story. So those touch points are specific to each individual personality that's telling the story.
Absolutely.
So I might be in Los Angeles and my story is entirely different than somebody that's sitting in Kansas City. But when you think about it, when it comes to audio, so if it's podcast, you've chosen that show as a lean-in. If it's radio, most people listen to the same radio station 4 days a week. They trust that station to deliver news and information and product information that's relevant to them. So when they're telling the story about how, they gave their dad an Omaha Steaks package for Christmas, they're literally like opening up about the joy of giving this gift and how great it makes them feel. But then what we do is once we get them in the funnel, then we treat them like royalty. Now we share with, we share content that's about entertaining and about recipes, and we top that with an incredible customer loyalty program that is really valuable. You buy a steak, you get a hamburger, that kind of a thing. So all of these things all kind of lead to that customer loyalty and how to keep them within the funnel, so to speak, and how to sell more to them. But I think media brings them in, and then customer service keeps them in and keeps them buying more. I want to touch on one other advertiser just to kind of give you an idea of a variety, but AAA. So AAA, roadside service, everybody knows that it's really great to have somebody that you can call if your car breaks down. Very commonly, people will buy this for their children as they become car drivers. So we bring them into AAA, which, as you all know, is called the Automobile Club. So now you're inside of the club, and now you are served content that is all about where to buy the best gas, the cheapest prices, where you can travel in your car over the weekend, and what you can get as a club member. So now we have their trust, and now we can continue to develop a relationship. It's not about just serving them more products or different products. The first thing you have to do is make them like you and trust you. And
Trust.
if Fern were to tell me a great restaurant down the street, it's just that simple. I go. So
I'm a big foodie, obviously.
But we all trust our friends. We all trust people that we have brought into that's why we're here. We're here to develop trust amongst each other. So that's a little bit about it. And then the cadence question, in the world of audio, we deliver a lot of frequencies. So typically we'll do something like, with radio, it might be 40 to 50 spots a week. With podcasts, the cadence is very different because it depends on the number of shows, but in some cases we'll deliver 2 ads per podcast, and in some cases we'll deliver 2 a week. So it's really very customized.
Perfect.
I really like what you said about the content that you're delivering to. We're calling that loyalty content. Mm-hmm. And there's something really different about what you're hitting a consumer with when you're prospecting versus when you're retargeting them. Mm-hmm. And then once they're in your funnel and you want them to do those repurchases, creating that customer for a lifetime is so much more cost effective for you than continuing to acquire and forget about them. That's such a valuable piece of a marketing mix that cannot be forgotten, and the content that you serve them is definitely different than the content when you're just trying to acquire them.
Yeah, I think as advertisers, as agencies, we have to remember now we have to be less about being intrusive and just serving display ads here and there. It's really about being part of the marketing experience and letting them be as part of it, and getting that attention. Like podcasts, you're following your podcast host on social media, you're listening to them on word of mouth, you're seeing a brand associate with that, and just as easy that you feel like a trust within that community. So it's like finding those different touch points of trust throughout each, like your whole your holistic media strategy.
So interesting you're talking about trust. Let's take that a little further. So, and going back to, touch points and really how you build your content. What benefits, what are the key benefits? What are you hitting upon? How do you build your content, Racine?
So we are, since, it's a little bit hard for us because our biggest competition actually is word of mouth, right? So you're at home, you ask Joe next door, hey, where'd you get your plumber? You call the plumber. So it's really about education and then the trust of Angi, and making sure that our homeowners feel like they could trust our platform. They're trusting the service professionals, the 250,000 service professionals we have, the 150 million homeowners on our website. So really building that trust, but I think through like endorsements, personalities, and like testimonials, that's really where the basis of that trust is coming from.
And so Brooke, talk a little about lifetime value and how you build that lifetime value. Word of mouth, obviously very, very important to Angi.
Yeah, honestly, trust probably sums it up the best. As you were talking, I was just thinking, I didn't really put it together in my head until just now, but our best email flow that we use for when someone buys a Swan pillow is we have a series of 5 emails, and it's constantly reaffirming them about their purchase. So the first one is like, congratulations, we're so excited for you. Mm-hmm. The second one is like a better use video. So how can you get a better use out of your Swan pillow? We show people different ways that other people use it. It gets them really excited, and they're ready, and they think this is a good company because they're taking the time to put in the work to tell us and explain it and kind of expand on it. And we just establish everything for them, how to use it, what's it gonna look like when they unbox it. It says, like, we ship compressed, and it freaks a lot of people out because they think they're getting a huge pillow and it's teeny tiny. So we're like, okay, this is what you gotta do, open it like this. And just really walking the customer through the journey of having their first experience with you builds trust forever.
That's the key. It's all about educate, and make them feel comfortable.
And also, we overuse the word, but authenticity is really the whole thing. So, when somebody says, I need to spend $100,000 and it needs to be spent in this particular box, sometimes that's not the right answer. It's always about finding the authentic answer. You send them a pillow, like, I don't even know Swan pillows, but I want one because it sounds good. You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds like something I can.
That's our giveaway gift, you guys.
Pillows. You have a promo code?
I've been asking for one for years. So.
Get us one.
I know, he's right there.
Come on, we need a promo code.
Brooke 10, everybody can use that.
Yeah. So
Scott, come on, give everyone a code. Come on, we got 65 people here. Come on. All right.
I think Angi doesn't have one either. Don't worry.
But I mean, Angi's another one. It's like as soon as you learn about Angi, it's like, why would you go to your neighbor and have him give you his plumber that's not going to work, when you can go and look at all these reviews and have a choice of, it's just so great once you do it. So that's, when we do radio effectively, it's really about us sharing an authentic story.
I agree with you, and again, education, but let's jump to reviews, because that's a good point. The older marketplace is leery of reviews. They don't know if they're fake, they don't know if they're real. How do you convince, your consumer that these are real reviews? You're using first names, you're not using last names, you're using stars, you're not using stars. So Racine, what are some of the things that you're doing to really convince the consumer?
Well, I think we have our actual Angi's users on our TV ads. They're not actors, they're not paid. It's amazing. And it's so funny, actually. One of them actually happened to work at NBC, where he was so excited to be on the commercial and his experience that he emailed me, can I have a log times? I'm on your commercial. So these customers are just so excited to share their experience, and the fact that we have real customers on our commercial with real testimonials is just really valuable for us, and we're seeing really positive results from those types of creatives. And on the other hand, we just have people trying out the service through influencer marketing, speaking about that, building the trust within their community as well. So just word of mouth, but word of mouth for Angi is the most useful for us.
Absolutely.
We're talking a lot about paid, but really organic too is so important, because you really have to listen to your consumers and see what they're saying. What questions are they asking? Because the questions they're asking could be addressed in some of your paid ads to get them to purchase. So you have to really throw in that organic piece too. And who's talking about you? Like you said, who's talking about us, and who can we? Yeah, and who can we use them? Yes,
which is key.
So I really like what you're saying there. If I can have just a minute on that, Fern.
Absolutely.
So one of the things when we're getting a program ready to launch is Amazon. And it really needs to be set up before we start the rest of the marketing. When you talk about customer testimonials or reviews, that's such an authentic place for consumers. I get that there's some stuff that could be faked in that, but consumers see that as a real authentic place to go. And so if you can start your Amazon before you start the rest of your marketing, then you can start to generate some reviews there that consumers are going to look at. So many people shop Amazon before they're going to buy from a site or call a phone number. It is a source of truth and credibility for them. And as marketers, we're not faking those reviews. Okay, we know that's authentic. So then when we're creating content, I'm looking at those reviews. I want those reviews. I want it to sound authentic, not be polished. I want to bring those real people into the commercials. I want to put their real comments on the website, because that unpolished comment, it resonates with consumers. They know that person looks and sounds like me. And so that real testimonial, that voice, if you can get that through into your marketing and any form of the marketing that you're doing, that's social proof, and consumers see that person's like me, they bought, that must be something for me.
Right, the old adage, what worked for me will work for you. It's, it's an old DRTV adage. So customers need more intrinsic value and more touch points. So what are new and old tactics that will be in the forefront of performance marketing to build lifetime value? Because as we all know, we don't want one-offs. So Lori, why don't you jump in first?
Yeah, this is such a good topic because we're talking about getting consumers. Well, what can you do with those consumers in order to build your campaigns? Because you have this whole CRM list. These are people that actually purchased from you or actually interested in your product. So it's really important, and this is where we've seen a lot of success, is take that CRM data and build lookalike audiences after. So then you're reaching those touch points, you're reaching the people that are actually like the people that either bought your product or interested in your product, and bringing those people in and building that database.
Absolutely. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
You say old and new tactics, and it makes me think about, it's such a circle. My clothes, what was a style before has come back, hairstyles, what was old has come back. It all comes back around, right? And you can hit on it a little bit as you were talking about mail. So for so long, it was, we're gonna hit them with email. We're gonna do this great email strategy, and it's going to have so many touch points and this kind of cadence, and people's email boxes are inundated, and it's almost a game to delete, unsubscribe, all these things. Are they really opening it? Are they really looking at it? We saw a trend up in direct mail, particularly through the pandemic, or the peak of the pandemic. People weren't interacting with each other as much. So great to go to the mailbox. What's in my mailbox? And frankly, there's not as much competition in the mailbox. And they've got to look at that piece of mail. So you're getting in front of their eyeballs of what this is. I'm sure you've all been in someone's home and seen the Bed Bath & Beyond coupon. That's always there, right? It's always there. You know that's in your mailbox. So one of the tactics that we see really coming back and being an important part of our performance marketing strategies, and we're layering in, is direct mail. Whether it's the consumer who has not purchased, which is great, this is a way for me to acquire that consumer, or this is the consumer who has purchased and is a type of product or service where you want to get repurchases. Direct mail is a great way to get in front of them to get purchases and accentuate the lifetime value.
Now, what's old is new. Big, obviously, influencer marketing is the big buzzword. It's, we're doing a campaign this year as well. Do you find that advertisers are asking to maybe incorporate their influencers or their spokespeople in the direct mail because it's so specific to certain markets, or is that not something your advertisers are touching yet?
I think that's a real interesting question, because we see the question about influencers come up about a lot of different marketing. I would say that you probably see more of this, or you see more of this from a direct mail standpoint, and how they're utilizing personalities in radio, how important that is in your local area, or maybe influencers in direct mail as well. Yeah. I would see it has value. I don't see it as much in what my clients have asked for, but what about you ladies?
So, but we're seeing it with our clients. So, our doctor, to give you an example, we use celebrity influencers, and we see it through email because the older marketplace, more affluent marketplace, is looking for that older, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a celebrity, they want that relationship and they want to hear and be educated. So we're seeing that more and more.
I think consumers are so different today than even they were 3 years ago. Some of the most successful ads that we've seen, and again, this goes back to listening to your consumer. Who's talking about you? How do you reach those people? Because these are people that are authentic, using your product. They're not a celebrity. They're not a testimonial. And what we did at Nautilus was we found a group of people that were very passionate about the products. They were talking about it all the time on social media. We actually turned those people into influencers and used those across our digital ads. We used them across our mailers too. We put them in some of the catalogs. And also our email. Obviously you have to work with them and get their approval to use them across all of that. But those were honestly some of the most successful ads, and I see Shelby over there shaking her head because she did the digital for Nautilus. It was some of the most successful ads because they're authentic and people can actually relate to them. And I think that that has really changed how people are really looking at media. So if you've got people that are talking about Angi, really reach out to them and talk to them about utilizing them and being your influencer.
Absolutely. So Brooke, let's talk a little about Contour. Pillows, beddings, do you try to get them to buy multiple pillows? How do you keep going down the funnel to open that up?
Multiple pillows, complementary products. It's hard because not all products go together. If you're doing all pillows, you don't need 6 head pillows, so it's hard to find different main products to go together. But like we do a lot with accessories. In our CPAP category, we upsell wipes, and that's like a continuity item that we can keep going after. So it's just always looking for things like that.
And do you try to like build upon the Contour name because it's a brand name, and yes, you have multiple products to your point that aren't linked together.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
because they believe in the Contour pillow, Contour bedding pillows, that they're willing to try other ancillary products from Contour.
Absolutely. We have a massive email list of over 200,000 people, and it's from 10 years ago, so it's not the best, but we have one list in there that is just old customers that bought either the original Contour pillow or the legacy leg pillow. And so like when we do the Swan pillow, or if we're gonna test a new product, we engage that group because they know Contour, they know our products are good, we know they have some issues with their sleep, so they're probably still on the market for a good pillow. And so yeah, we re-engage upon that.
Fantastic.
And how often are people supposed to buy pillows? Like I know the
Yeah, I
numbers
was just
so
thinking,
much
I haven't
closer.
changed my pillow in a while, should
It's
I?
like the numbers are really
Still have that promo code for you.
There's some kind of a number like that's much shorter than what we think because my family
I
too.
say like 3 to 5 years.
Oh.
But like I've
Times
seen
that
some
by
people
5.
say like 1 year you're supposed to get a new pillow, but that's a lot. But it's kind of like the mattress. They said 10 years, but you don't
And
really
do you try to obviously influence the consumer by that, by educating them, say,
Yeah.
how long have you had your pillow? Is it time to
Yeah.
try something new? Things of that nature.
Absolutely. Especially with like a pillowcase, that's huge. Because that, like for pillowcases, our key is they extend the life of your product. That's how you get that.
So do you try to upsell
Oh yeah.
pillowcases and things
Yeah.
of that nature? Interesting. All right, so this is big. What do we see as the game changer for 2023? Forward thinking, improving lifetime value. Sarah, why don't you jump in?
Well, as an agency, the answer to what's a game changer for 2023 is really going to vary by client. What's important for each of those. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to, for each of them, test, measure, and optimize. So testing and testing and testing new things, but you got to measure it and then, of course, optimize it. In 2022, Google rolled out to everyone that we could utilize PMax. And so that was something that it was new. It's a bit of a black box. So don't really want to throw a black box without doing some testing to my clients. So we tested it, made optimizations to the type of content we were feeding into it. And after we started getting results, started to scale that out and then began to roll that into some of our other clients. Testing is great. We as marketers do lots of testing, but if you can't measure it, then you can very well just be throwing dollars at something. So one of the things that we created And where we did it because we see this as really an opportunity across the board is a tool to allow us to better measure it. We call it Insight IQ, which allows us to take a look at the performance data and match it up against indexed data. That allows us to see where there's opportunities both to pull back or to push into particular areas. And with that, when we see those areas, we can then layer in with an omni-channel approach other tactics or deeper in the same tactics utilizing slightly different content and messaging. So that's really allowed us to do amplification of the programs utilizing that omni-channel approach, making sure that we can measure it and to continue to test and grow and scale. So it comes down to test, measure, and optimize, I think.
Perfect.
And I think it also comes down to really partnering with your vendors or your agencies and pushing for transparency in data. So I think that's really important, especially as performance marketers.
That is huge.
Yeah.
So Racine, to me, I would think that content's important to you. So when I think of, just like you said, millennials buying new houses, they're going to have different challenges in their first-time house than somebody who's a little older market than myself, and I want somebody different. So you're constantly looking to add, not the normal plumber or electrician. Are you looking out of the box in different categories that they might be, open to?
Yeah, definitely looking out of the box. I mean, some of our competitors right now are similar in terms of like our spend, but how we're tailoring our creative messaging to these younger millennials is really important.
And are you
for us.
constantly testing creative messaging?
Yes, we are.
It's
Constantly
important.
testing, and we have a new creative campaign really excited about that's more branding, but I think it'll evolve over time, and we'll be able to incorporate more of like the DR creative strategy
And
as
do
well.
you tend to try this and test on YouTube, digital first?
Yeah, so actually YouTube's interesting. We actually work directly with these 2 YouTube influencers, home influencers, and we're testing their creative on YouTube versus our 4 other Angi creatives, and that one is actually performing the best. So seeing that has been really exciting for us because that just means we can do more and more around this custom content in 2023.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Jill, what's a game changer to you?
Gosh, there's so much, you guys have so many things to say. I'm going to add a couple things, kind of in the what is old is new again. So I think there's a couple things that we all have to be careful about. I haven't heard it as much here, but I've been hearing it, but everywhere, is AI. So we've got this incredible abundance of AI, some of which is incredibly valuable and some of which is scary and not so effective. So what I would say is, without the leadership or the management of really smart, meticulous marketers, AI is dangerous. You think about something like ChatGPT, which probably most people are familiar with. Yeah. Okay. So ChatGPT, like phenomenal for something like, I'm going to go.
Writing reviews.
So right, okay.
Quarterly reviews.
But yet, if you see an article that's a ChatGPT article, it's very efficient, it's effective, but it's not customized, right? So we're all in the business of matching personalities with products. So if we over AI it, then we're really kind of doing disservice to our messaging. So we have to be very careful to continue to have really smart people managing the AI, using it and managing it. The other thing is that the more successful media gets, the more the media provider wants to automate it. So I'll give you an example. Well, I mean, we can talk about pixel tracking, for instance. A lot of us pixel track. Pixel tracking is so cool if it's done right, but how many times have you seen a pixel tracking report that says that your sales are greater than your first touch point? That's inaccurate. That doesn't work. Just because somebody's giving you a really cool tech tool doesn't mean it's going to work. So you have to be meticulous in your implementation of that. One more, like, do you guys know DI versus baked in? This is terms that are used for podcast. So DI is dynamically inserted. That basically means the spot is pre-produced and it's dynamically inserted into a show so that a certain number of impressions are delivered. The alternative is baked in. Baked in is the podcaster is delivering their programming, and in the content of their programming, they're delivering your message. What do you think is more effective? Baked in is hands down more effective. The providers want to go to DI because it's easier and it's more like you're going to get exactly what you bought. You're going to get your 100,000 impressions. But baked in, it's engaging. It's interesting, it's real, and it works better. So we have to be careful to constantly push the envelope to make sure that, you know, we're identifying our goals and that we're taking our intentions completely through the process to make sure that our goals are met, rather than somebody pushes us to do something in a particular way. So I think, you know, using the new technology, but on our own terms.
Agreed. So Brooke, you're always looking to open the funnel. So how important for your lifetime value is bringing a new product, and how often do you develop new product?
Probably about, well, I guess it's hard to say. We develop all of our products in-house, so we might have like 20 concepts, and then maybe 10 make it to manufacturing, and then maybe 6 make it to TV, and then 1 works.
It's okay.
So we're constantly doing new products, but it's not really as much as like a regularly timed thing. It's just kind of how it happens. The last 2 products we've done, Swan and Legacy, weren't necessarily planned. It came from customer input. That was like, people were like, I'm looking for this, or I have this problem. We were like, okay, well, we could solve it in this kind of, not really a roundabout way, but just like a different way of looking at it, and have that go. As far as game changers though, I'm with Racine and Jill. I think custom content, using influencers and ambassadors across different channels. We have so many touch points on consumers, more than ever, and there's a really great way to use it meaningfully so that people feel appreciated and feel good about your brand.
Love it. All right, we're going to open up the last 5 to 10 minutes. Questions from the audience? Don't all jump up. Come on. Here we go.
All right. Test.
Thank you. Great panel. I think I heard a collective gasp in the room when you said that you're increasing your CTV budget by 6 times. I think everybody was like, oh. Did
I
you?
already submitted my Q2IO, so 327's on Monday. We'll talk in Q3 now.
Well, I mean, essentially, did you shift budget from any of the other channels?
Yeah, we shifted from, we look at everything in the holistic video channel. So we shifted from broadcast and cable DR.
Got
so
it.
yeah, so really following consumption. Nielsen obviously comes out with their study every month. We kind of saw the trend and we jumped on it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Come on, you have
Come on
5
now.
experts up here, kind of
Come on.
including me, 5.5. So ask away. It's your chance. Free knowledge. Get educated.
They did a great job. Oh, here we
Here we
go.
go.
Here's a
So you
brave
can
soul.
save some questions for outside near the pool.
Thank you. Just a very upstream question that doesn't get talked about a lot, but the measurement, when you're talking about measuring where the customers come from so that you can work them downstream, what's the challenges these days, and how do you overcome measuring digital, terrestrial, knowing, everyone comes in through the website, but which advertising drove that? How do you answer that question?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of brands kind of wonder, where is our consumer? Where are they coming from? Where do they see the ad first? Where are they purchasing? And how do you plan that out? How do you plan out your budget? How do you plan out the channels you're in? And we found success with MTA and MMM models. We're using it. I can't tell you how much it has changed how we're looking at media, how we're guiding the clients on your consumer was actually here first, but this is where they purchased, and making sure that your spends are where they need to be. And I totally get what you said, that you're taking some of the linear budget and putting it more towards the digital budget. We've seen that that's really what's taking place today, is how are you making those channels play together, but how are you actually making your budget work what it needs to work and bringing the performance. So MTA and MMM, the human touch too. I mean, you really have to think about, it's not just the machine and the data and everything, it's really your knowledge and that human touch and how you're actually personalizing the campaigns to what the client is.
We also utilize a tool like that. We have a tool that we've created that allows us to take a look at that And at the end of the day, when the consumer is coming in, so many of these channels, they play off of one another. And I think sometimes I get the question like, well, should we spend over here? Should we spend over there? And it's yes, you need to spend in all of those. And so which channel is really going to lift all of those? And we say that comes down to TV. That I have clients who want to spend more in their Google, and I'm like, you need a top of the funnel to drive that. Okay, you've got to keep driving your TV. And they said, well, they keep coming into web. My web's working. They're not going to come to your website if they don't see you somewhere. So TV is that tide that lifts all those ships, right? And so by the season, where I shift those dollars, which could be a little bit more in TV, could be a little bit more in my radio, it depends on the season and the business. And so we're constantly looking at that to shift where those dollars are going and which ones we're using at that time. There's not a set and forget it. It is test and measure and keep looking at that data. But you've got to have that top of the funnel and not think that just because my Facebook retargeting, let's say, is working, I'm going to stop feeding my Facebook prospecting. I got to have them both.
Absolutely.
So just to add to that, I don't know how much time we have, I'll be quick, but just to add to that, we talk about, so data is gold. Mm-hmm. We test, we optimize, but we don't want to over-optimize. We don't want to have 10 people that are our core audience. We want to be able to serve ads to people that are well-targeted, that are interested in our category, so that when they're ready to buy a new pillow, when they're ready to get something in their house fixed, they think first and foremost Swan, or they think first and foremost Angi. So there's this tendency that we see from advertisers where they're like, optimize, optimize, optimize. The next thing after that is scale. It's so important to have an audience that we can serve ads that are pre-qualified and interested, rather than, that little, we're in the broadcast business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any last question before we end? Thank
Anyone
you all
else?
for coming. They did a phenomenal job.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.